Memories through my fingertips. I hope you guys like it.
Yeah, Jocylyn.
Woo!
Memories through my fingertips. I once looked at the bow that my right hand fingers held, and the violin that my left hand grasped, and believed I could never play as beautiful as the others played. I once thought that I would never speak up, as I used to place my young fingertips on my dry lips and closet my defense that I so longed to verbalize against my intimidators. I once doubled over in pain because of the harsh realization that there are cold hearts that exist in this world, and are pumping blood vessels speckled with ignorance and desensitivity. The realization of these ugly beating hearts hit me like a train moving 1,000 miles per hour on an unstable set of tracks. The speed was so much for me to endure that I placed my hand on my stomach and began to grow faint, and as I doubled over in pain, silently falling to the ground, observing the cold smirks surrounding me, my fingertips began to feel dry to the bone, along with my pumping heart and luscious veins that settled inside me like a million tiny twigs detached from a tree. I did not feel real, but rather a walking zombie that hushed myself every time I wanted to pull out a verbal shield of armor to block the hateful comments that targeted me like bullets in a war zone. But the last time I checked, we were not in a war zone. And that was the very moment in time that I began to question the good side of humanity. My mind began to spiral out of control as I started to overanalyze my life and the beastly humans around me. Why are some people born with evilness in their hearts that pump blood through their veins and then to their knuckles, which become marked over time by striking a weaker link that just so happens to be in their way? And just when I think I've had enough of the inhumane acts that these so-called humans do, thinking this world was closing in on me, bowling my fist up as an act of self-defense, me against society, creating a steel of armor to embody myself in, I unclench my tense iron fist, my right hand fingers gently letting go of the violin bow, removing my fingertips from my dry lips, allowing my breath full of angst to exhale from my body. As I picked up a pen, I started to write down these out-of-control thoughts that were driving me to the brink of insanity. This constant, never-ending stream of thoughts poured out of my brain and traveled through my veins, making their way to my fingertips that gripped the pen, to be written down in the blue ink that suddenly appeared on the blank piece of paper in front of me and formed into legible words. Next thing I knew, I was standing in front of an audience, verbalizing my thoughts that shot out of my mouth like a firecracker. The audience admired my spoken thoughts that formed into beautiful fireworks, like the ones you remember seeing on the 4th of July when the day was full of so much warmth, and you stuffed your 9-year-old self with pink cotton candy at the carnival that you have been waiting for all year, because there was not a care in the world about how you appeared to others. You were content with your tiny, crooked-toothed, frizzy-haired 9-year-old self. And maybe nostalgia is not the answer to finding happiness within oneself. As I have discovered, I can smile without having to look back on the good old days, because there is a moonlight in the darkness of my night to guide me back to my intended path. So as I continue to tell you my memory of speaking my thoughts to my audience, I want you to listen to the words that I speak. I want my words to make mountains move. After all, my fireworks were an explosion that I will never forget. And as I spoke to the audience, I instilled faith within myself. I realized I am more than just skin and bones. I have a voice that growls from the inside, like a lion attempting to escape from his cage. And like the lion, I became a warrior with my body covered in pen ink and my cheeks dabbed with war paint. My own dagger slicing the wooden walls of the cage to open up to let myself free. And as I spoke to the audience, I slowly felt the blazing sun rise up and pour its rays down on me, making the pen ink covering my body glimmer and shine. I became a walking masterpiece painted by my own self. I felt alive. And as I smiled and I raised my head up to look at the sky, like when my braces were taken off at the age of 15 and my teeth shined, and I felt liberated because I could finally show everyone my smile that was hidden behind my tiny fragments of metal. And knowing that the audience was admiring the fireworks I created, I felt liberated. Like when I opened up a thick envelope several weeks ago from Ithaca College, my fingertips trembling, my heartbeat fast, as my eyes scanned the acceptance letter that I was shocked to discover I had received. Because I didn't even think I had the slightest chance of being part of such a prestigious institute. 1,200 of you will apply to the School of Music, and only 125 of you will make it, they said. And I made it. Or like that one time when I tripped and fell down on the dirt ground speckled with rocks 12 years ago, I looked down at my elbow, thinking I developed a bruise at 5 years old, only to discover years later that it was a beauty mark that would be part of me forever. Like when I thought that having curly hair in the 5th grade was hideous compared to the pin-straight, shiny, glossy hair my classmates had, only to realize years later that everyone around me envied the body and form my hair roots had. And just to think that people liked even the slightest aspect of me, that's liberation. I felt gifted like the moment in time when people were admiring my fireworks I created, the fact that people were interested in me. Fascinated by the colorful explosions I created was remarkable, shocking and endearing all at once. I felt as though not only did my words move mountains, but right in that moment, in front of that audience, when the sun shined down on me, I climbed up a mountain with ease, reached the top, and screamed my name out to anyone below me. With my arms stretched wide open, my name echoing in the distance, because finally, people were noticing me. I had an identity in this inhumane world that I once doubled over in pain from living in. And when I settled my firecrackers down to a rest because my show was finally complete, I received the loveliest feedback on how beautiful they appeared in the sky. I took these soft-spoken words of compliments and placed them into my back pocket. Like a strand of leaves floating gracefully in the autumn wind, these compliments trailed behind me. The gush of wind pushed my crooked back upright, because my mind, full of ugly thoughts, once caused my delicate spine to bend over and stumble me out of my position, out of my own path for a moment. But I became comfortable in my own skin that I once thought was dull and dusty. And as my ears opened up to soak in these compliments, the music trapped within my veins traveled towards my fingertips and gently returned to lift the bow upon my violin strings. The sound projection of the music echoing glory as the war within and around me ended. The music played in unison with my liberation and brought my mind to peace. My written words that evolve into spoken thoughts are my creation. My creation is mine to own, and what I call mine is beautiful. And I get to thinking, if people are complimenting my spoken thoughts, then they think similar to how I think. I have slowly discovered that people who think, breathe, and have the same beating heart as I do have also recognized that the actions of some of these people around us are cruel and heinous. My sorrows of belonging to the human race are not isolated, but rather shared with others. And maybe being a human is not so bad, because we all have some type of heart that pumps life into us. And no matter what, we all breathe in the same oxygen that gives us life. But most of all, we all have some type of voice buried within our souls under the rubble of our own personal wars. And as I sigh a sign of relief, I realize that I am not alone in this animalistic world. And that has made life worth living. Thank you.